The Cuban Missile Crisis, which occurred in October 1962, was the result of escalating Cold War tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. The primary cause was the Soviet Union's installation of nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the U.S. coastline. This move was partly in response to the U.S.'s deployment of Jupiter missiles in Turkey and Italy, which threatened the Soviet Union. Additionally, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev aimed to bolster Cuba's defenses following the failed U.S.-backed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961 and to shift the strategic balance of power in favor of the Soviet Union. The crisis began in earnest when American reconnaissance planes discovered the missile installations in Cuba. President John F. Kennedy convened his executive committee, ExComm, to deliberate on the U.S. response. After intense discussions, Kennedy decided on a naval blockade or quarantine to prevent further Soviet shipments of military equipment to Cuba. He demanded the removal of the missiles and warned that any missile launch from Cuba would be considered an attack by the Soviet Union, triggering a full retaliatory response by the United States. The world held its breath as tensions reached a fever pitch, with the U.S. and Soviet forces on high alert for potential nuclear war. The crisis ended after 13 days of perilous negotiation. Khrushchev agreed to dismantle the missile sites in Cuba in exchange for a U.S. public declaration and commitment not to invade Cuba. Secretly, the U.S. also agreed to remove its Jupiter missiles from Turkey and Italy, although this part of the agreement was not disclosed until years later. The Cuban Missile Crisis had significant consequences. It marked the closest the world came to nuclear war during the Cold War, led to improved communication between the superpowers through the establishment of the Moscow-Washington hotline, and paved the way for future arms control agreements, such as the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty of 1963.